Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I want to talk to you about yourself. Thomas Troward wrote The Hidden Power, and in his book, chapter 11 is called Yourself. And my mentor, Bob Proctor, studied this like a scientist. He studied till he could get into the spirit of what the author was talking about. Thomas Troward says, I want to talk to you about the livingness there is in being yourself. It has at least the merit of simplicity, for it must surely be easier to be oneself than to be something or somebody else. Yet that is what so many are constantly trying to do. The self that is their own is not good enough for them, and so they are always trying to go one better than what God has made them, with endless strain and struggle as the consequence. I want you to just permit yourself to settle in, to get relaxed, to permit this beautiful energy that is always flowing to you. Allow it to grow, to flow, to manifest into becoming the best version of you. Thomas Troward says, of course, they are right to put before them an ideal infinitely grander than anything they have yet attained. The only possible way of progress is by following an ideal that is always a stage ahead of us. But the mistake is in not seeing that its attainment is a matter of growth. And that growth must be the expression of something that already exists in us, and therefore implies our being what we are and where we are as its starting point. The big changes come from inside, not outside of ourselves. So right here, right now, start where you are. Thomas Troward says this growth is a continuous process, and we cannot do next month's growth without first doing this month's. But we're always wanting to jump into some ideal of the future, not seeing that we can reach it only by steadily going on from where we are now. So I want you to take a deep breath in. Just release any negativity, any chaos, any jumping to what you have to do today. Just allow your body to calm down, to be relaxed, to let your central nervous system relax so that you've got a beautiful flow of energy, of blood circulating through your body, of your trillions of cells repairing and relaxing. And you can have an image of what you really want, but know that you have to be a cooperative component. You have to get into the vibrational energy of being that which you want to be, the state of being you prefer, whether it's better health, wealth, peace, joy, love, contentment. What you're reaching for, you have to become that. So it starts on the inside and then it reflects on the outside. The growth must be an expansion of something that already exists inside of you. You already have it. You don't need to look outside. You don't need to rush around from thing to thing, place to place, task to task. The first thing is to know that you already are created perfectly and you are just continually growing into a better version of yourself. Keep in mind, you started as a spark of energy. You were a baby, you were a toddler, you were a child and a teenager, and then you grew into an adult. You're not done growing and changing. You're not done developing and becoming. You are changing every single day. When you focus on the past, you see more of the same. So I just want you to allow yourself to just be yourself. And don't worry about what Thomas Troward says, trying to go one better than what God made you with endless strain and struggle as the consequence. Of course, you want something better, an ideal, infinitely grander than what you've attained. That is the spirit inside of you wanting more, wanting to express more life, wanting to grow and become. That's not greed. That is the spirit in you developing into more, into bigger, into better, accelerating and expressing that spark of energy inside of you. So let's go on to see what Thomas Troward says. You can only reach your ideal by steadily going on from where you are now. So where you are now is perfect. Don't beat yourself up. He says, these considerations should make us more confident and more comfortable. We are employing a force which is much greater than we believe ourselves to be, yet it is not separate from us and needing to be persuaded or compelled or inveigled into doing what we want. It is the substratum of our own being, which is continually passing up into manifestation on the visible plane and becoming that personal self to which we often limit our attention without considering whence it proceeds. But in truth, the outer self is the surface growth of that individuality which lies concealed far down in the deeps below, and which is none other than the spirit of life, which underlies all forms of manifestation. If you want to really go deeper into this, you might want to read his Edinburgh lectures on mental science. And Thomas Troward says science is the effect of the spiritual side. Science studies the effect, and religion studies the cause. But you are the cause of the effects in your life. The thoughts you think that go out into the universe, the actions that you take cause the results that you see in your life. You want different results? Pay attention to what you're thinking, what you're doing. Maybe you ask yourself, is this going to lead me to what I want or more of the same? Is this going to take me to that beautiful future goal? Or is it going to continue to give me what I don't want? The power is within you, and it must be allowed to come to the surface. So you don't want to pay attention to all the what's going on the outside and think that that's all there is. You want to get quiet and listen to your inner guidance system, that still small voice. Thomas Troward says, endeavor to realize what this spirit must be in itself. That is to say, apart from any of the conditions that arise from the various relations which necessarily establish themselves between its various forms of individualization. You are an individual expression of the divine spirit. Just let that settle in for a moment. Troward says, in its homogeneous self, what else can it be but pure life, essence of life, if you like so to call it? Then realize that as essence of life, it exists in the innermost of every one of its forms of manifestation in as perfect simplicity as any we can attribute to it in our abstract conceptions. In this light, we see it to be the eternally self-generating power which, to express itself, flows into form. This universal essence of life is a continual becoming, in manifestation into form. And since we are a part of nature, we do not need to go further than ourselves to find the life-giving energy at work with all its powers. Hence, all we have to do is allow it to rise to the surface. Accept that you have it. Create the awareness to start to utilize it. We do not have to make it rise any more than the engineer who sinks the bore pipe for an artesian well has to make the water rise in it. The water does that by its own energy, springing as a fountain 100 feet into the air. Just so, we shall find a fountain of essence of life ready to spring up in ourselves, inexhaustible and continually increasing in its flow. As Jesus taught long ago to a woman at a wayside well, recognize it is within you. Don't fight the existing reality. Just start growing from where you are here and now. Don't jump into the future. Allow the growth to be simple and easy. Become aware that you have infinite potential and allow it to come up. Troward says, this upspringing of life essence is not another's, it is our own. It does not require deep studies, hard labors, weary journeyings to attain it. It is not the monopoly of this teacher or that writer whose lectures we must attain or books we must read to get it. It is the innermost of ourselves. And a little common sense thought as to how anything becomes anything will soon convince us that the great inexhaustible life must be the very root and substance of us, permeating every fiber of our being. Surely to be this vast infinitude of living power must be enough to satisfy all our desires. And yet, this wonderful ideal is nothing but what we already are in principio. It is all there in ourselves now, only awaiting our recognition for its manifestation. Thinking your thoughts, moving your thoughts into form. It is not the essence of life which has to grow, for that is eternally perfect in itself. But it is our recognition of it that has to grow. This growth cannot be forced. Force negates. This growth must come by a natural process, the first necessity of which is to abstain from straining after being something which at the present time we cannot naturally be. The law of our evolution has put us in possession of certain powers and opportunities, and our further development depends on our doing just what these powers and opportunities make it possible for us to do here and now. If we do what we are able to do today, it will open the way for us to do something better tomorrow. And in this manner, the growing process will proceed healthily and happily in a rapidly increasing ratio. This is so much easier than striving to compel things to be what they are not. And it is also so much more fruitful in good results. It is not sitting still doing nothing, and there is plenty of room for the exercise of all our mental faculties. But these faculties themselves are themselves the outcome of the essence of life. They are not the creating power, but only that which gives direction to it. Now it is this moving power at the back of the various faculties that is the true innermost self. So we know that our mental faculties are imagination, intuition, reason, perception, will, and memory. So these are not the creating power, but you use them to give direction to that power, that essence of life that is flowing to and through you. It is the moving power at the back of the various faculties that is the true innermost self. And if we realize the identity between the innermost and the outermost, we shall see that we therefore have at our present disposal all that is necessary for our unlimited development in the future. You want to practice listening to your intuition, using your imagination to create your ideal, holding that with your will, using your reasoning ability to think, to come up with ideas, using your perception, understanding that you have unlimited potential. Stop holding yourself back and talking yourself out of realizing what you're here to do, your purpose, your heart's desire, what you're meant for. Creating a beautiful picture, holding that, knowing that that is meant for you, understanding that everything develops in its time, but you have to get into alignment, get into the vibrational energy of how you will feel when you attain that ideal and allow yourself to be happy, to be satisfied with where you are, but eager for more, anticipating the next and the next, expressing the well-being that you are co-creating your life with God. And you have an image of the ideal. And as you think from that beautiful picture, you start to get impulses, whispers, and then you take action today. Don't put it off. Don't scare yourself out of it. Do what needs to be done today so that that leads you to the next step and the next stage and the next level on your way to becoming your ideal. You have to think from the state of being happy, being joyful, being loved, being all that you can be, but not comparing yourself to others and feeling bad or beating yourself up. You're not going to get anywhere with that low energy thinking and feeling, but moving backwards instead of forward on your path to what you want. Thomas Troward says, our livingness consists simply in being ourselves, only more so. And in recognizing this, we get rid of a great burden of unnecessary straining and striving, and the place of the old strum and drang will be taken not by inertia, but by a joyous activity which knows that it always has the requisite power to manifest itself in forms of good and beauty. What matter it whither this leads us, if we are following the line of the beautiful and good, if we're focusing on good and beauty and health and wealth and abundance and prosperity, if we're focused on doing good work, then we shall produce the beautiful and good, and thus bring increasing joy into the world, whatever particular form it may assume. We limit ourselves when we try to fix accurately beforehand the particular form of good that we shall produce. We should not aim so much as having or making some particular thing as expressing all that we are. The expressing will grow out of realizing the treasures that are ours already and contemplating the beauty, the affirmative side of all that we are now, apart from the negative conceptions and detractions which veil this positive good from us. When we do this, we shall be astonished to see what possibilities reside in ourselves as we are and with our present surroundings, all unlovely as we may deem them, and commencing to work at once upon whatever we find affirmative in these, and withdrawing our thought from what we have hitherto seen of negative in them, the right road will open up before us, leading us in wonderful ways to the development of powers that we never suspected and the enjoyment of happiness that we have never anticipated. We have never been out of our right path, only we have been walking in it backwards instead of forwards. And now that we have begun to follow the path in the right direction, we find that it is none other than the way of peace, the path of joy, and the road to eternal life. These things we may attain by simply living naturally with ourselves. It is because we are trying to be or do something which is not natural to us, that we experience weariness and labor, where we should find all our activities joyously concentrated on objects which lead to their own accomplishment by the force of the love that we have for them. But when we make the grand discovery of how to live naturally, we shall find it to be all and more than all that we have ever desired, and our daily life will become a perpetual joy to ourselves, and we shall radiate light and life wherever we go. Use your ideal image of what you want to stimulate your mind to get a picture of your ideal. Focus on how happy, how healthy, how grateful you are. Get into that spirit of well-being. Have faith that you're on the right path and everything comes to you as you need it. You don't need to worry that you don't have the money today for something that you want to do tomorrow. Just have faith that it will show up. When you believe that you have been created perfectly and everything is always working out for you, you can go into the day with a good attitude, with a full heart, with a mind focused on this is going to be a wonderful day. Allow it to unfold. Let other people have their opinions. Let other people do what they do. Don't allow that to affect you. Let yourself get surrounded by infinite intelligence. You might see yourself protected divinely. You might call in divine guidance. Ask for guidance for the day. Spend a couple of minutes just being still and asking for divine guidance. You are co-creating your life with infinite intelligence. You have infinite potential. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Enjoy your day. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. See you back here tomorrow morning at 7.